Hello everybody, I'm Mike, CTO and co-founder at Callstack, and before we move to our React Native Show podcast, I have a quick announcement to say that might be something that is interesting to you. Today I'm looking for the best React Native developers to join my team. Besides working on high-end software used by millions, we also contribute to open source projects such as React Native Paper, React Native Testing Library, or Repack. And so you will have an opportunity to develop your skills and knowledge within these projects, as well as move your own ideas into life by taking part in our R&D program. We are a great team full of React Native crazy people about this technology, and we can't wait to share our knowledge and experience with you. And so if this sounds like something exciting, don't wait anymore and join us. It's great to be part of such a team. Check out the link below and apply, and I'm hoping to see you soon in our Callstack office or maybe remotely depending on your location. Bye-bye.
Hello everyone, welcome to the React Native Show podcast. Today we have a new formula for you. I'm Łukasz, I'm a senior React Native developer at Callstack. With me is Ola, who is also senior React Native developer at Callstack, and our head of technology, Michał Pierzchała. We're gonna meet maybe in this setup, maybe someone else will join, to discuss the latest and greatest in React and React Native news. And today we have two huge topics ahead of us. We have React 18 and we have React Native 0.68, which has some impressive new things inside it. Shall we start, guys?
Yeah, let's go.
Sure.
Yeah, so just for our listeners, we are looking at two blog posts from React website and from React Native website, and we are gonna just discuss what we're seeing there. Michał, do you want to start? Do you want to start with React 18?
Okay, so let's start with what's new or what's announced with the blog post that React core team released recently. And I think that the most important thing to start with is the Concurrent React. So they changed the naming from concurrent mode to concurrent React or concurrent features, because now we can turn them on the component basis. So the strict mode component is still there, but we can introduce them not only in the root level, but also for specific components. And concurrency in React 18 is the base for all of the improvements and possibilities for React as a library and as a framework for building user interfaces.
Yeah, so before, historical background is that before React used to be linear, right? One thing happens, another thing happens, and you can like compare it to like procedure almost. And right now you can start some update and then opt out of it. You can stop it, you can pause it, and you can start it again. So that's basically concurrent React in a nutshell, correct?
Mm-hmm. So now the rendering is interruptible, in other words.
But it's also kind of automagical, right? Because this feature is aimed at kind of like power users of React, because like if you're just writing your basic app, you don't even need to concern yourself with the concurrency. It's done in the background.
Yes, although you can use it as a power user. And this is common theme in this release of React, that most of the features here are not aimed at regular developers. Those are aimed at library maintainers to get use of these new features. So we will discuss some low-level APIs, how to leverage this new concurrency. But at the same time, they say, authors of this blog post, they say you shouldn't really do that. You should wait for mature framework like Remix, like Next.js to incorporate those as, like you said, behind the scenes mechanisms.
Yeah, it's like in the first sentence about in the blog post, they say that the most important addition is something we hope you never have to think about, concurrency, right?
Yeah.
So that is like you're right. It's kind of the theme of this whole version of React. I feel that it's a lot of features that are kind of in the background.
Okay, so we've talked something on the concurrency, but what does it enables? What's possible with concurrent mode, concurrent React that wouldn't be possible otherwise?
I don't know. Do you have examples in mind? I don't know.
Yeah, I hope you can answer your own question.
Yeah. I'm thinking about the transition API.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Łukasz mentioned that there is for power users there are ways to play with the with concurrency in React with different levels of events that can interrupt rendering, and one way, I think the only way to do it right now is transition API or transitions. And React 18 introduced new hooks and new APIs called start transition and use transition that allow us as developers to tell React that some update is
less
of
important,
low priority, right? So whenever we as an example, when we have a search input and a list of results, the updating the text input state is high priority. So we want to update it as fast as possible, but the list can be rendered a bit later. Like we don't need to pause.
Yeah, and you want to be able to stop rendering of this list if the input changed. So you want to render the new list so that you wrap set state as a text input and you wrap set start use transition as rendering the whole filtered list. Another API that is used in concurrent React area is use deferred value, which tells React that you can render the UI before I finish calculation on this particular value. You can just use the old one. I don't care about it. So that's another low-level API that you should probably not use in your application, but we encourage you to try.
Oh, yeah, that depends, because if you're building like some robust application, like maybe an e-commerce store, or maybe something really that is big, these features are going to be super useful, because we're not building any more like to-do apps that are just 50 lines of code. We're building really huge web applications with React.js today. Yeah. We can and we do. So it's some really useful stuff.
Okay, what about the server rendering? What's new here?
There is nothing new here. That's the point. That's the point. I was reading this blog post when it came out, and I was talking about it on other podcasts as well. And there is nothing new. The statement here is that, yes, we are working on it. We know that you are waiting for it, and we will be introducing some new features in minor updates. But right now, there is nothing new. But I know that the Next.js framework back in fall in their conference, they mentioned something that they can already use server components from React, that they're working closely with React team to enable that in Next.js. So I don't know the status of that, but as of now, as they say, this is not production ready. This is not production yet.
Okay, but React 18 also introduced streaming server-side rendering, right? So we are not advised to use the render to HTML string or whatever the API is called, but now we render to stream or to pipeable stream, and this is huge for the server-side rendered apps. Because it also affects and with concurrency that this new server rendering pipeline is built on. We now don't have predictability in terms which parts of the UI are going to be streamed to our clients sooner than later. And because of that, React introduced another new hook called UseID, so that the hydration works in concurrent environments. So this is I think this is another great addition to React, because it can now decide which part of the of your UI is more important to be served first, and this will be streamed first as well. And this combined with suspense.
I was gonna say, if I can interject, suspense is my favorite part of React 18, and I highly recommend watching a talk at ReactConf 2021. It's by a girl from Netflix, and it's called Streaming Server Rendering with Suspense. And she shows how at Netflix they use suspense to load all the components and to have them not block one another, and it looks great. And
and now we're gonna have this in server side rendering as well. So this is great. And I think the last thing I would like to
sorry, can I just give it a shout out to Netflix? I love you guys. Your app is amazing. It works so good, and I'm so glad that it's built in React Native, in React or React Native. I don't know, but it's so much better than any other apps.
It's like leaps and bounds better than any other app, like HBO, Prime, anything. They suck compared to Netflix.
Yes.
Yeah, I wonder if they use React Native.
I wonder if we have to bleep that out, but.
So the last thing I would like to just have a quick shout out is the automatic batching, because we've heard about it for years, and React actually batched the state updates in event handlers by default for a few years already, and now we have automatic state batching for all of the callbacks.
So yeah, again, I feel like this needs some explanation. And state batching is, it used to be when I did set state after set state, not in event handlers, it would cause 2 or more updates. Right now, when I wrap it in some function, it will go as one update to my UI.
Less re-renders by default, which is great. Yeah. Thank you, React, for improving performance of our...
It's like a game changer in performance-wise, right? It's gonna be really visible.
Yeah, it's gonna cause some bugs as well, right?
Definitely, especially in the applications that relied on the edge cases from previous system. But actually, this is hot take. I don't know if it's true, but I think they say somewhere in this blog post that you can adapt those features incrementally, so that you can opt out of the new behavior for some parts of your application if you don't want to break the existing edge cases.
Oh yeah. And this is also the case for the new architecture in React Native 68.
Such a great bridge. Such a great bridge.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is still not stable, which is still not 1.0, and probably never be, and it doesn't have to be. React Native is pretty stable. It gets more stable every day. And there is, and it just hit a huge milestone, and this milestone is we're now able to, with the new React Native 0.68, we're able to opt in to the new architecture, something that we've been waiting for, I think, 3 years or even more. 2018 was the first time I've heard about rewriting the renderer, the core idea of asynchronous communication through the bridge. So
so that's like 4 years in development. And I love that they actually did make it as an opt-in, because I remember when Angular decided that team behind Angular decided that it sucked, and they created Angular 2, and it kind of killed the whole community, I feel. And here in React Native, they also could have said, okay, this is like a breaking change, you either decide to go with it or not, but they're doing it with an opt-in flag.
Well,
so we can comfortably adopt the new architecture. And
I feel that it was necessary, and even more so in our mobile environment, so that you have a production application in stores, and with new architecture, you have to choose if you are using the old one or if you are using the new one. So, and if you are using the new one, please be aware, not every library is prepared to handle your application. So there are few libraries like React Native Screens, Reanimated, that you can use with new architecture, but some other ones, also popular ones, are not ready yet. So we'll have this transition period when we can use old one and new one in React Native, and you have to choose carefully which one to use.
Mm-hmm. I think it's worth to mention that React Native core team learned this process of incremental adoption and working side by side with the community on adoption with React. So prior to releasing the architecture, they created a working group for React Native, where they consulted their plans, how the rollout would go. They consulted ideas, tested.
They're still consulting, right? Because you're saying like they consulted, but it's like a work in progress.
Yeah. It's still an ongoing thing. But we're past a very important milestone, and this milestone is we are now able to use Fabric, which is a very specific part of the new architecture, which is a new renderer for React Native, and this way we can have a synchronous rendering of the UI components that we're using, and I think it's worth to mention as well that Fabric is not the only part of the architecture. There's also turbo modules, which were released a few months earlier. To be fair, Fabric was there for a few months already in the open source in the repository. There was just no documentation on how to use it and how to prepare all of the apps that are using React Native.
Definitely. Like there is this talk from our React Native EU conference 2021, when Joshua from Facebook is explaining how they adopted new architecture in Facebook application already, and so it was in a master branch available for everyone to see and to play with it, but without any documentation. It was so hard, and even with the documentation is so extensive and so in detail that I honestly I haven't got around to reading it yet. It scares me. It scares the shit out of me.
Oh yeah, it's the documentation is not too bad. It's actually pretty insightful in terms of Fabric. At least the turbo modules are way more. There's just more content on this in their official docs. But with what I found pretty enlightening with the Fabric documentation that we have right now is the way how concurrent React features and concurrent rendering of React enables certain powers that Fabric can have. So there's this great interop between React and React Native, but React 18 is not yet compatible with React 068.
Yeah, I was going to say that you have what concurrent mode, but we can't use it in React Native just yet.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that, to be honest.
This is a funny thing, because if you look at the React Native commits, you will see once in a while something called React sync with a date or something. And what's happening is that React Native repository has its own copy of React renderer, and React core team is someone from React core usually is responsible for managing synchronization between the React Native render and React core. And the funny thing about this is that this is what's this vendored React render or React version will be used in production apps, regardless of which React you have in your package.json dependency tree. So please don't use React 18 with React Native 68, because you will end up with React 18 in development mode, but in the release mode in production, you will still have React 17. So please be patient. React 18 will be compatible with the next version of React Native,
which is already being cooked.
We are close to the time that we have scheduled for this coffee talk, as we call it. Is there anything else new in React Native 068 that we should quickly talk about?
I don't know. There are some specific bugs fixed in the developer experience mode, let's say, and there's a bunch of libraries and tools that were updated, like React Native CLI or Metro. But I think the most important upgrade is Gradle and Android Gradle plugin. They were upgraded to version 7, and now JDK 11 is required for building Android instead of JDK 8. So this is there's a noticeable change, and also the Android Gradle plugin will automatically download the NDK version that's needed to build React Native.
Awesome.
From the source.
I struggled with that at some point before. Okay, thank you, Michał. Thanks, Ola, for joining me for this coffee talk. We don't have coffee yet, but for the next episode, I'll get you some coffee. To our listeners, we were discussing 2 blog posts from React 18 and from React Native 068. We'll link them in the episode notes, but you can just go to the blogs to respective teams and just look at it yourselves. Thank you so much for listening, and see you next time.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.